So there are Secret Service agents that go through 25 years that may have one or two federal arrests. I was fortunate. I had over 250 probably. I really liked that end of it.
Today we have on Mr. Greg Watson. He is my cousin. We're very excited to have you on. Sir, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing fine. I think I can speak for both me and Ethan. We're very excited about this interview.
Yeah.
All right.
So we always start the same way. Where did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in Freeze, Virginia.
Did you go to Freeze Elementary School? Or?
No, actually, we moved, I think, 12 times before I was 12, according to my mother. I started in kindergarten in Oakland. I heard one of the other guests say that, I think, like most recently.
Yeah.
Oakland school, went to kindergarten there, lived in those trailer parks up there, little trailer park, Watson Trailer Park. And then from there to Providence School for first grade. And then Vaughn School, which is no longer there, of course, Vaughn School from second to the ninth grade, all the way to the ninth grade, and then Freeze High School, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Freeze High School, when did they, it's a middle school now only, right? When did
It
they
is,
stop?
yeah. 88, I
Have a grade.
graduated in 88.
Okay.
89 was the last graduating class before they consolidated. So Independence at the time, Independence High School, Freeze High School. I think they were getting tired of getting beat by our little school. So they combined schools, and it was supposed to have been a consolidated school and changed the mascot, colors, and everything. But in the end, they just I kept the Blue Devils because we were the Freeze Wildcat. Went from Wildcats to Blue Devils. So, but I graduated in '88, so I didn't have to go through that like my brother.
Yeah. Was the mill at that time still operational? Or was it?
Yeah, the mill was shutting down during that time. That was the last days of the mill. Just a very few people worked there by the time 88, 89.
Yeah, I never knew really when it went out of business or when it.
Yeah, that's kind of coincided with the closing of the school.
That's interesting. So tell us a little bit about your parents, your mom and dad. What do they do for work?
Well, that's how you hit the lottery. You get good parents. I was fortunate to have really good parents, Randy and Linda Watson. And of course, as you know, Luke, growing up in the car business, they had something to do with the car business. All of them, all my uncles. My dad, 7 brothers, 3 sisters, 11 of them. My mom, she was one of 6. Both of them the youngest. But Mom, she worked as hemming T-shirts and stuff like that, various little places around Galax and Old Dominion Apparel, stuff like that. But Dad had the junkyard when I was growing up, the salvage yard. I think he started in 1974, him and my Uncle Kurt.
Nowadays, Freeze houses are like upwards of $500,000. They're crazy expensive. And people who didn't grow up there and don't already own property there, they can't afford to move there. When did that change occur? When did it become this tourist destination for people to live in and buy vacation houses?
I was gone during that. I mean, when I was in high school and right after, probably when I was in college, you could buy, a house down on Front Street for $50,000, $75,000. And then I guess when they shut the mill down and they made the trail, the New River Trail, the trail that attracted a lot of people to walk the trail, and plus the river, canoeing. A lot of people from out of state started showing up and couldn't believe how nice it is, and hey, I can own something riverfront.
Yeah.
And that everywhere else in the country, that's expensive. And anytime you can see water, it's going to be expensive.
From what I've seen, really during COVID, that really took off because it was kind of that small little town that people would get away to. And during the summertime, I mean, it's packed with people down by the river.
It's nice.
To really touch back on your childhood, what's the earliest thing that you can remember? It doesn't have to be a solid memory, but just the earliest little.
I think thinking about maybe kindergarten, Oakland School, Charles Bird. I don't know if y'all know Charlie Bird. Charles Bird, he's still a friend. He was the principal of Galax now. I think he's superintendent. Dr. Charles Bird now. I think he's got. But him being a friend of mine, I can remember being friends with him, picking, the bus picking him up, and we were in the same grade together. I can just remember Charlie Bird when I was, 4 years old. Started school when I was 4. So graduated from high school when I was 17.
And you mentioned your dad, how many brothers and sisters he had. What about your own brothers and sisters? How many did
Just
you have?
one. Me and my brother both were 10-pound, 4-ounce kids, and I think my mom said that's enough.
Yeah.
So I'm the oldest by 3.5 years. Kevin's my brother. He's at Watson Auto now. And my dad.
Were you and your brother close growing up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a little. He grew up pretty fast because he had to grow up with my friends. He was bigger kid.
Yeah.
And so he fit in real well with the neighborhood kids.
Yeah. Did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, we played sports, both of us, all the way through. I mean, in that area, and especially Freeze in high school, you've got to play. I mean, I probably wouldn't have played anywhere in a big school, but at Freeze, I think we had 22 players my senior year of football.
Wow.
So you had to play. I mean, even if you weren't very good, you had to play. So it was fortunate in that we got to play. And nobody got cut. There was no rounds. We needed everybody.
I see you're wearing a Freeze hat now. Freeze seems to take a lot of pride in their sports. I mean,
especially in baseball.
I mean, they still have the convention every summer, so that seems to be a big part of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know that as well as anybody with your grandpa starting that, Jerry.
Absolutely.
But that get into Jerry in a little bit. But yeah, Freeze is people are still mad about consolidating that school because that's prideful. I mean, we took it serious. We took things serious. Pride in your school then meant something.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of eerie too. The building's just there, and it doesn't really look like
I
it's
think
used for much.
Middle school still goes.
Yeah,
there, but it's not nearly as.
I don't think it's all occupied.
Part of the old high school is still there. They tore down the new part when they tore it down. They kept the older part with the auditorium.
So you mentioned the car business. When you were in high school, did you have any desire to go into the car business, or did you really know what you wanted to do?
Well, in high school, growing up in Freeze, there's not a lot to do, right? Yeah. So I was heavy into the Boy Scouts. I got my Eagle Scout. Actually, the welcome sign to Freeze was the original one. That was my Eagle Scout project. But the car business, you're going to work growing up, of course, especially if you want to drive a vehicle.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, I still had my first car. I got one when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And it was a trade-in from Watson Ford at the time.
Okay.
Watson Ford was there when I was growing up. And all my uncles worked at Watson Ford, right? I mean, Jerry, Bud, Chip, Pico was there some. Tom, he had his own thing going. He sold furniture and clothing, and they all had something going on. Jerry had Jerry Lee Rouse Sporting Goods. Yeah. He had Kawasaki dealership. Jerry was into everything. And so, I worked for them, and that's the hardest thing to do is work for family.
Yeah.
Because they will abuse you. They will bring cars the back door for you to wash at 5 o'clock on Friday. And if you're 16 years old and you've got a date, you're lucky enough to have a date, and then they're going to pile them up at the door and say, wash these before you can leave. But I've always, of course, liked cars and liked that, but Dad didn't want me to get into that. I wanted to, as a young age, be a mechanic, get into cars. Dad said, you need to do something other than this. He did a lot of mechanic work and pulling parts and stuff like that. So he was always cutting his hands, and it was pretty rough, in the salvage business, just pulling parts and selling. So he said, I don't want you guys doing this. I want you to do something else. So that kind of, we kept the basics. I mean, I still have, the cars. I buy and sell cars still, just on my own, fix something up and sell it. But as far as getting into the business, no, I can't sell anything. I don't have that gene.
So you didn't do that. Did you consider college or the armed services or anything?
Yeah, so I had open heart surgery when I was 7. And so career day, high school, I went to the Marine recruiter. That's where I wanted to go, the Marines. And so they told me, you're not a candidate to be in the Marines because you've had open heart surgery, so do something else. So the other interest was law enforcement.
Yeah.
So I didn't take auto mechanics and building trades in high school. I took accounting, I took French, I took typing class, which, thank goodness I took that so I can serve me well later. But so I took all of those type of classes. So my grades weren't very good. So when time to go to college. There's not a lot of colleges that would take me. So I ended up going to Wytheville Community College for 2 years, and then transferred to East Tennessee State. Criminal, I think police science. Me and the current sheriff, Richard Vaughn, we rode back and forth together a lot. Police science at Wytheville. But during that time, I worked for your grandpa, Jerry. He had opened up a place, Jerry Watson Used Cars, over in Hillsville.
Where was that at in Hillsville? I've always come
Right there where that Clouds Clothing is, the very first, right when you come into town on the left.
Okay.
That very first building on the left. And Jerry did not abuse me and treat me bad. Like my Uncle Bud would seem to, he would wear you out. I mean, he would drop you off somewhere, Bud would, in Kingsport, Tennessee. I can remember at 16 years old, dropped me off in Kingsport. I didn't even know where I was at, and say, here, take that Mustang back to Watson Ford. And I get in, and it's a 5-speed. And I've never even driven a 5-speed on the highway, just around town. So I kind of got abused. I mean, they took care of me, but they'll work you hard. It's hard work for family. But not Jerry. Jerry always treated me great. He treated everybody great. Jerry was wonderful. So when he opened his shop up and needed help, he said, hey, do you want to wash cars for me during college? So I said, of course. Yeah. So I worked for Jerry during college at Wytheville Community College.
And you were at Wytheville for 2 years. Did you know that you wanted to transfer to ETSU, or did it just happen?
No, I know I wanted to get my 4-year degree because I wanted to become a police officer by that time. Virginia State Trooper in particular, that's where I wanted to start. The troopers, you kind of look up to those guys when you're growing up, the troopers. And, they got the uniforms, the car, you're just like, man, that's I'd like to do that. If you can't serve in the military, that's the next best thing, right? Serve your community. I knew I wanted to do that. And like I say, graduating high school when I'm 17, you can't carry a gun until you're 21. Yeah, so right. I knew I was trying to get my 4-year degree. So when I graduated from East Tennessee State in 1992, when I was 21.
Yeah, makes sense. So did you immediately apply to the State Police Academy? How did that work?
I did, yeah. At 21 years old, I applied to the Virginia State Police Academy. And back then they gave, you went through the whole process in one day. You come in and took the written test, and the people that passed the written test took a physical agility test, and people that passed the physical agility test later got an interview. I got all the way to the interview process, and that day, and they said, we're filling a minority requirement in 1992, and I did not feel that need. They had gotten all the white men that they needed at that point in time, so they said, apply next year. So that 1992, I just fell into just a limbo area there that didn't fit. So it took a long time to get into. The hardest job to get is your first job in any career you want to start. So it took a while.
Yeah. And Luke told me that you later became a bike officer in Galax. How did that come about?
Well, so after college, I didn't want to move back to here in this area. And to be honest, just chasing a girl, moved to Tennessee. So I worked for the post office. I was actually a mail carrier for almost 5 years out there before I got back to Galax. And Chief Ray Melton gave me a chance as a police officer in 1998. So I started there as a police officer, and I was bike patrol. We did do the bike cop, the bike patrol stuff. James Cox, Aaron Kreiner, those guys back then, they were bike patrol. That was great. It's great experience, great job.
Do you remember your first shift on the job?
You have to ride with somebody. I rode with all the sergeants, and back then those are the great sergeants that we had back then. Jimmy Litz, those sergeants. I'm sure it was a shift with those guys. Timmy Sawyer ended up being my sergeant. I learned most of everything that you could learn in 2 years from Timmy Sawyer. I mean, he was the guy. He was intelligent, very smart, articulate, very professional, very strong, very good sergeant, and a good role model to start with.
Did you know my grandpa during that time? He was a state trooper, Joe Wheatley.
I knew of him, yeah. Didn't work with him, but I knew of him.
To kind of loop back before we go forward, You mentioned ETSU and your other educational institutions. Did you have an educator in those places that really had an effect on you in particular?
Not particularly. Not one. Not in college. More in high school. Your high school teachers. You could tell. Somebody that cared about what they were doing. Jane Blevins, my art teacher. I mean, she had as much influence on us as anybody because she cared. She was extremely talented. Still is. She still paints. A lot of things, Virginia Tech and everything else. But she's great. Diane McGee, Diane Haynes, great. Don Martin. Some of those Freeze teachers were, very, very good with their students and very cared what they were doing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we've experienced that too with Carroll County. It just seems like smaller areas have more of a
more intimate connections.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the Postal Service. Yeah. Before we get on into other stuff, I would like to talk about that for just a bit. That's always, to me, seemed like it would be a stressful job. Yeah. Just finding your way around.
It's a very important and respected job. My grandfather, he worked for the Postal Service for a little bit, and it's one of those jobs that they're thankful that when you come to. It's a service that you provide.
Oh yeah. So for me, right out of college, looking for a job, very hard to get that first police officer job, especially I guess when you're 21. I have any experience. Yeah. So I started just working part time at the post office for $5 an hour, just breaking up bundles of mail in the morning early, working through that, and then from that they came around and said, "Hey, we need some people, transitional employees, TEs," and that's $11.75 an hour. I can remember that. At 21 years old, I said, "Hey, we'll give you $11.75 an hour," and I was making $5. Yeah. So that's a big jump. So $11.75 an hour, 50 hours a week, it just work you to death. But I like the structure of it. You come in, you had a goal, a mission, get the letters put up and go, and you had to learn different routes, city routes, business route. We didn't do rural. I worked for the Cedar Bluff area, Knoxville, Tennessee. But that was a really good job. It was stressful. A lot of veterans there, a lot of characters. Some of them who I'm friends with to this day. One just called me yesterday. He's 87 years old, and he sent me a Christmas card, Dole Owsley, ever since. I worked with him in 1992. So really good people. It was a really good experience. But that whole time I was applying for jobs, applying for the U.S. Marshals, applying for ATF, applying for everybody, just shotgunning them out, trying to get a job. And with the Postal Service at that time, and they still do it, transitional employees, you work 364 days. They lay you off one day and then bring you back, so they don't have to pay you benefits. Even though you're a union member, they didn't pay you benefits. So that was good experience, life experience. I tried to get into the Postal Service at that time, so I learned about the Postal Service. They wouldn't hire me, so you just kept trying. I even took flying lessons at the time from Knoxville Aviation. The first time I ever flew a plane, I flew it, a lesson.
You said that you were applying for the Postal Service. Were you a federal employee at this time?
Yeah, you were temporary, just contractor. It counts.
Probational.
It counts as a federal time, right? But it doesn't count towards a permanent position.
Would that help you in applying for other federal positions like the U.S. Marshals or ATF?
It didn't help me at that time. I can tell you that. It didn't open any doors for me, no.
Yeah. So then you came back to Galax, as we talked about before. Yeah. And you spent how many years at Galax?
Just 2 years. The shift work. We work a week of days, a week of afternoons, a week of mids, and just rotate like that shift work. So only 2 years, because I knew I wanted to try to go federal. Yeah. At some point in time, especially, I had 2 kids at this point, and I'm making $21,000 a year as a police officer. And one night, I can tell you, I chased a guy who had meth or had crack at the time, a little M&M bottle crack. And he had a pistol. He'd shoot it up in there, and I chased him through the neighborhood at night. And I knew he had a gun, and finally got him and put cuffs on him. And I thought, man, I'm doing this $21,000 a year, I've got 2 kids. I need to do better than this. And the ATF come in to take that charge because it was a gun charge and drugs. Yeah. And I asked the ATF agent, I said, "Hey, are you guys hiring? I know you've been closed for a while." He said, "No, we're not hiring, but the Secret Service is hiring like crazy right now." I was like, Secret Service? He said, yeah. I said, call this guy in Roanoke.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that started.
Yeah.
And did you have to go in for an interview with that?
Yeah, so I ended up applying Secret Service, and when I applied, Sam Alexander is the guy's name. He answered the phone. He said, are you a cop or military? And I said, yeah, I'm a cop. He said, okay. So he interviewed me. He said, it'll take about an hour.
Yeah.
So come down to Roanoke, we'll have, an interview. So he set a date, time. And that interview lasted about 3 hours. We ended up going to lunch. I'm still friends with him to
That's a
this
good
day.
sign.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's retired. But at the end of that interview, I said, what's my chances? And he said, not very good. He said, you're just a run-of-the-mill white guy you don't speak any languages, and you're just, a cop. So
Yeah.
I'm going to push you on, but, you don't have much of a chance, is what he said. I was like, okay.
So when did you realize you had a chance?
Yeah. Did you get a call?
Well, so that whole process, you go from that, then you'd have a panel interview. And the panel interview is 3 agents, senior agents in Richmond, and they just hammer you for 2 hours, an hour and a half, whatever it was. And in that interview, there was one guy I just knew was going to fail me. He didn't like maybe the way I talked. No answer was good enough. Every answer, he shot me down. It was just, I wasn't feeling very good. And at the end of that interview, he said, so I told him during the interview, they said, hey, why do you want to be a federal agent in the Secret Service? And I told them, they said, well, what's wrong with your current department? And I loved my current department. Galax Police, a lot of pride in that, being a Galax police officer. Great job, loved it. I mean, it's no 2 days are the same. It's great. But I was just trying to do better, and for myself and my family. And I said, that they really didn't have a lot of equipment, surveillance stuff. They're really lacking in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So the guy that asked me that, he was hard on me, and he said at the end of it, I know now that he didn't have to ask this question, but he said, so what's the last book you read? And I said, it was Cal Ripken Jr.'s autobiography, Because I Can.
Baseball,
And he goes, well, why do you like that book? I was like, well, he's just a normal guy that got into the lineup and said, I'm not coming out, right? And he set the streak, for consecutive games played. I said, I just really like that fortitude he had, and that, and they said, oh, okay. So it kind of turned it a little bit for this guy. Well, when the interview was over, the guy that had been hard on me the whole time said, I'll walk you out. Come down to my office. I'll give you some stuff for some surplus place, some military surplus. Maybe your department could use that. So I followed him down to his office, and when he opened his office door, he had a Cal Ripken jersey, had a Cal Ripken ball signed, and I'm like,
there we
what
go.
a great book. I was lucky.
Yeah.
Just got lucky.
Yeah.
So that, and then you have to take a treasury exam after that. And Timmy Sawyer helped me with that because there was math on it. And math wasn't a strong suit of mine. But Timmy helped me with it, and I was able to pass the treasury exam. And then the polygraph after that. My polygraph was 6.5 hours long.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. 6.5 hours of things that, make you feel bad about yourself. I mean, everything you've done. And they got hung up on smoking. And I've never smoked anything, never smoked dope, never smoked a cigarette. But the polygrapher just hammered me on that. You're having a problem with this question. You're having a problem with this question. Like, I'm not having a problem with it. I guess you are, I was like, no. He said, you're having. I was like, listen. I finally got to the point where I said, look, I've got a good job. I don't need this. I mean, it got to that point. And so he ended the polygraph. So I passed that. So I got offered. They told me you're going to New York, Detroit, or Chicago. And I said, well, can I pick? And they said no. So a couple of weeks later, they called and offered me Chicago.
Yeah, what was that like, moving to such a big city from small town Virginia?
Yeah, it's about the way you would think it would be.
Yeah.
Coming from Freeze, Virginia. I probably spent a week looking straight up at the tall buildings in Chicago. So, south side Chicago, we worked a lot of, Secret Service, we worked a lot of aggravated identity theft, like counterfeit money, counterfeit credit cards, bank fraud, wire fraud, a lot of threats. So we worked south side Chicago down into Gary and Hammond, Indiana. Pretty rough.
Did you have any opposition because of the way you talked, the way you sound?
Oh yeah. I used it to my advantage. I got to work undercover with the Secret Service. One of my first cases, I got to do that. I played a car salesman from Texas. A guy had stolen the mercantile exchange. Head of the mercantile exchange stole his identity and had bought a Lamborghini online. And even uploaded a driver's license, but they didn't sign the license. It was a fake. So we set that up, and I was the middleman and brought them in. At that time, Oprah Winfrey Studios, they shot that in.
Yeah.
So there was a big line outside Oprah Winfrey. We set the takedown out at a little garage across from that. So I was there on the bench, and they came in to. I was supposed to have the Lamborghini there for them to check it out, and I was the go-between. They come in, signed all the papers, then all of our guys jumped out of the vans and stuff, and all the people were right across the street going into Oprah Winfrey's studio. Got to see all that takedown, but so I kind of used it to my advantage a little bit. But and after 9/11, they were looking for agents to go to D.C., and so I don't know if you've been to Chicago in the winter, but lake effect snow's not a joke. So I got out of there.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you went to Chicago after you got hired. Did you go to Georgia to do training, or where did you do your training at? Yeah,
so we all go to Glencoe, Georgia, FLETC. We do 12 weeks there as a criminal investigator. That's where you learn all how to interview and interrogate all your criminal investigations, and then you go to Beltsville, Maryland, is where our Secret Service. That's 16 weeks, and you do protection there. You learn protection or protective intelligence stuff for the PI, the threats. So yeah, it's 12 and then 16.
Okay. Did you have any training with Galax PD? Or
yeah.
How similar?
Police Academy.
How similar were the two?
It's night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. I mean, the Police Academy, New River Valley. I think, you got the physical agility test. They give it to you. They don't really. At that time, it wasn't. I mean, I think a guy lit a Marlboro up and started walking on the 1.5 miles. So you're not going to do that with the Secret Service. So that's just the difference in night and day. I mean, not that that's not a serious academy. It is, but it's integrated all the agencies to go there. State and local, and different ages. You might go through the police academy when you're 35 or 40,
right,
or 20 or 21, whatever. But so it was a great academy. It's a great place to start. I mean, I'm so fortunate that I got that base of law enforcement training.
Yeah.
But it doesn't compare to the stress that they put on you with the training with the Secret Service.
Yeah. I was watching a documentary on the Secret Service, and they were talking about formal law enforcement of like local and state police agencies. When they're doing their job and something bad happens, they mess up, someone dies. But if a Secret Service agent messes up, then the world might change. Yeah. I thought that was kind of sobering.
Yeah. And we can get into that too later. But down in Glencoe, Georgia, at that training center, all the agencies are mushed together, right? All the recruits.
Every agency trains there except for the FBI, the DEA, the Postal Service. We have 114 agencies that train there.
Wow.
The ATF have their National Academy there. When they finish 12 weeks, they stay. So the marshals, so the IRS, most everybody else, the Customs and Border Patrol, everybody has an add-on.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, Bureau of Indian Affairs, we have every agency trains there. NCIS, everybody trains at FLETC. That's where you get your basic.
So then you went there and did specified training for the Secret Service.
Right.
What was the difference between those two? Like, was it harder at the Secret Service, or?
Oh yeah. No. The FLETC is more of I don't say a college campus, but it's more of a little touchy-feely. It's you don't have to. You're not looked at and every day scrutinized. It's tough. It is, but it's not like when you get to the Secret Service Academy in Beltsville, then you've got bosses from headquarters that are there. You've got dog and pony shows that were running for the Senate and stuff all the time. Yeah. It amps it up. The level, goes up. It's more discipline. The PT's harder, more running, more mat room fighting, more swimming. A lot of it just amps it up from FLETC. FLETC's a good place to start and get you the basics, but from there, then we kick it up a notch.
You mentioned fighting. Is that like
hand to hand?
Yeah, they teach you control tactics. You get that in the basic police academy too, and so it's a good place. Like I say, it's a good base. But yeah, control tactics. Red man, you're doing strikes with batons. Secret Service, we don't carry pepper spray, so everything is hands on.
So soon after you graduated from there, that's when you went to Chicago for the first time.
After graduating from there, that's when you get, when you graduate, you go to your first field office. And so Chicago was my first field office.
I was under the impression that all Secret Service agents started out as uniformed officers. Did you go right into special agent?
See, I wish if I could tell somebody that's 21 years old coming out of college. Well, right now we're hiring right out of college. We've got a STAR program. If you're 22 years old and you're coming out of college with a 4-year degree, well, the Secret Service is looking for you. We're giving a $40,000 bonus right now.
Wow.
50 and 40. Maybe the uniform division's 40 and the agent's 50. But we need people. We've lost a lot of people. It's a very tough job to complete 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get into that. But, yeah, so uniform division, I wish I'd have known about that, because our uniform division has our counter sniper. They have our K-9 division. They have our HRT around the White House. They have the traveling magnetometer team. It's a great place to start. I wish I'd known about it. I don't know where I missed that in the recruiting, but it's great. It's not a requisite to start there. It's a good place to get your feet wet, and a good place, instead of being, a state or local, you get some experience there before coming over to the special agent side of the house. Yeah.
And you mentioned this briefly earlier, and I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago when Luke was telling me about you and told me that you worked with counterfeit stuff for the Treasury. What all did you do there?
Yes,
the role of the Secret Service in the Treasury Department. A lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until Luke told me.
In 1865, when the Secret Service was founded because of all the counterfeit money after the Civil War. So that's how it started. It wasn't protection. Actually, President Lincoln signed Secret Service into existence on the day he was shot.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't for his protection. It was to combat counterfeiting. So that's how we began. And we were Treasury Department all the way up until 2004, I think. President Bush brought us over to the Homeland Security. So actually give us our Treasury badge that we retired. So we actually still do, or the Secret Service actually still investigates counterfeit money, but we're not the Treasury Department anymore. But the counterfeit money, if you're a working agent out in the field and you're working cases, if you've got 10 good cases, 1 or 2 will be counterfeit money. And I've had some really good counterfeit. The last one I had in Knoxville, Tennessee, if you want me to tell you about that one,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so counterfeit, it's not the money, the feel of it is what catches most people, the feel of it, right? So if you feel a bill, it kind of feels like, it's not paper, it's made out of cloth, right?
Yeah.
We won't get into a lot of security features, you can pull that out and look at it, but the feel of it gets people, right? If you can feel the ridges, you can take a bill out of your pocket now and feel the ridges in the coat and stuff like that. That's intaglia printing. That's a printing press. We've not taken very few printing presses down in the United States in the last 25 years. A lot of foreign countries have some printing presses that they've made some counterfeit. But a lot of counterfeiters, they go from, I had a case, actually Rolling Stone magazine did a case on it from up in Northern Virginia when I was up there. The Cobblestone gang, these kids from a high school up there were making counterfeit money to buy weed for Beach Week. They didn't want to spend their own money, but they printed $10,000 worth of counterfeit money on a scanner printer copier. And they went to a Deadhead concert and bought a bunch of pot with it. Yeah. And then they had a lot of it left over, and they come back and started passing it around. And we do what's called a run out. If the Silver Diner has a counterfeit note, we go there and say, okay, do you remember who passed this? And just what happened in this case is, the basketball star, the 6'8" kid, passed this. Yeah. So I go to that kid to go to the school, and he's 18. He said, I'm not telling you anything. I don't have to talk to you. So it ended up, it's a long story, we got this whole little Cobblestone gang that the rich kids living up there in Northern Virginia passing counterfeit. They even had the audacity to take the scanner printer copier back to get their money back when they ran out of ink. So you go from that, but we can seize their vehicle as a conveyance. Go from that to maybe the last counterfeit case I had. And he brags about this on podcasts and stuff like that. He's out there bragging about how much he's done and all that. He tells how he was caught. It took me 6 months to catch the guy. But he was making it out of Bible paper. because the feel's what gets you. But 2 sheets of a Bible, when you open it, there's blank sheets. Yeah. 2 sheets of those glued together is the thickness of a bill. So this guy was a graphic designer, and he figured out. He studied us. He pulled up articles on how we find out, how we bust people for counterfeiting, and he figured out, it's the security features. So he took a computer program, got rid of all the black ink, and printed it one time with the green, and then run it back through with the black, and was layering the ink. Now, he was on heroin at the time, and he was addicted to heroin, and he run out of money. But he was so meticulous with this. He printed it. He thought, well, the Secret Service tells people to run their thumb along the edge of the coat. That kind of shows the ridges, like I was talking about the printing. Yeah. So he took a fine stick glue pen and just made some strokes in it to make it feel like it was ridges in it. And then he would hold it back and spray it with lacquer. So those pens that you see when you go to the grocery store or whatever, they mark it, those are iodine. When iodine mixes with starch in paper, it turns. Well, so if you can prevent that from turning, then that's one security feature that the regular clerk's just going to mark it. Yeah. So he figured out there's hairspray that does, I think, Aquanet and lacquer. So he would spray a thin lather of lacquer across the top of it, and that would prevent that from reacting. So then we take that and he'd add some more security features to it. When he printed the 2 sheets, he would print on the front side, on the front piece, he would print the watermark. So if you hold it up, you could see that. Yeah. And then on the back side, he would print a strip, the security strip.
The hologram.
So he would take those Bible paper and would cut out a regular sheet of copy paper and tape it to the middle of it so it would go through the press. And so, like I said, it took me. We got his drug dealer. He was buying drugs, heroin with the counterfeit money. He's very smart. He would go to a grocery store with 2. He never had the same serial numbers. That's the other thing, serial numbers. He would never have the same serial numbers with him. So he'd go to a grocery store, have all those security features. He would buy a birthday card and a gift card. And he would go up and give him $100, and he would always be short on his. It'd be $106, and he'd have 104, and he'd say, "Well, can you break another 100?" Yeah. Okay. So he'd get $95 back, real money, plus a gift card, and we'd take that gift card and go out to dinner, rent a hotel room. His wife was hooked on heroin too, so then we took the money that they got from that and buy their heroin. But they started using so much heroin that they started ripping off their drug dealer. So the drug dealer finds out that he's getting ripped off by counterfeit money. Yeah. He said, "Hey, I'm not mad at you. I just want more of it." So now it's double. So the drug dealer gets picked up, and they call me and say, "Hey, we got this guy that's got this counterfeit." So I go to him, and he tells me, because the guy was really good. He would take his clippings and everything with him when he would move around. He wouldn't just throw them in a garbage can in a hotel room for somebody to find. That way we'd identify him. Yeah. But he would always pick on younger clerks or older clerks at a grocery store. He would carry 6 bills with him that all different counterfeit. So when I got him, I did the search warrant. I found him in a hotel room. He was actually printing the money when we hit the door. And he ran to the bathroom, tried to flush some of it, but we got him. And he had passed about $200,000 total over a period of 6 months. I mean, he was good with. If he hadn't have been strung out, he would probably been much better. He'd been a better criminal, but he was a heroin addict. And part of his plea agreement was I brought him in, made him agree to come in and show us how you do the counterfeit. So part of our training video is that video showing how much effort he put in to counterfeit money, how to passing it. And you're going to do hundreds or maybe 50s, but 50's odd. How many 50s do you have in your pocket now? No. Not a lot of people have 50s, right? So if you're going to do it, you don't do 5s. Yeah. Now the other way a good counterfeiter, they know you're after the paper, right? So you can take a $5 bill, a genuine, spray easy off oven cleaner on it, and just wipe the ink off. Then you can run it through the printer. Now it's going to have the wrong watermark, but it's going to have that feel, and that feels what the bank tellers. That's what everybody feels. So yeah, counterfeit is how we started, and it still takes up some of our time. It's not really a main focus right now with the Secret Service, of course. Protection is and threats, but that's just one of them.
I know a lot of printers have built-in safety mechanisms where they won't print money.
They do.
And I'm curious to see how the other dude got around that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of them that don't. The cheaper ones really don't. I mean, they don't put that technology in it. And somebody that knows what they're doing is not really looking for a high quality printer.
That's true.
Because they're gonna have the paper because they know that's the thing, the paper.
Yeah, I've heard that foreign agents are printing counterfeit bills overseas, like more sophisticated printing presses.
Yeah. So there's a bill called the Super Note. You can look that up. Super Note. That is very good because there are security features within security features. If you look at a bill, and I'm not going to give them all away, but there's some in there. But that's the only way we could tell that it was different because the strips will glow differently under a black light. If you want to take a black light, each strip and each bill will glow differently and different color for the corresponding bill. Banks can use those, and then those iodine pens are trash. You should never use them. They're worthless. But yes, foreign nations have done a lot of counterfeit with super notes, though, and we've taken those down in foreign because we do have agents around the world and foreign offices, and we have a lot of rapport with these foreign countries that help us, combat counterfeit. South America, some other places that have been very, I guess, prolific in trying to rip off our financial system.
Yes, I know there's some countries like El Salvador in South America that use the U.S. dollar. I bet counterfeiting has to be pretty prevalent in those areas.
Yeah, well, and we worked that out. We've got an office in Bogota. Miami works a lot of that. So yeah, we've got an office in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Wow.
So besides protection, besides the counterfeit, what other roles does the Secret Service have in everyday criminal investigations, federal investigations?
Yeah. Well, so I have done everything from, I've done 5 child porn cases, just because we can do any federal charges. Sure. Knopfinger, the guy here in Galax that murdered the baby and the mother. I did that with the request of Galax. Aaron Kreiner comes and said, "Hey, can you help us with this phone?" We did a chip off of the phone, and our guys were able to identify more victims, and we got him actually 60 years in federal court before he was sentenced in state. So we will help state and local. I mean, that's big with us because it serves us well. You wouldn't think there's an office in Knoxville, Tennessee, or Roanoke Secret Service, or Greenville, South Carolina, wherever. But when we do protection, especially campaign season, when we hit all these offices, we have liaison. We built rapport with all these agencies that we work with. So counterfeit is one thing, but we'll do anything federal. I mean, I've done them all. I've done wire fraud, bank fraud, the gas pump skimming cases. I mean, one of the last ones I worked before I left Knoxville, Tennessee, was a gas pump skimmer where they attach those little jumps inside that's a Cuban gang out of Hialeah, Florida, that are given different territories, and they lay them things out kind of like America's that Deadliest Catch, where they lay the crab pots out. That's what they do. They lay a bunch of those things out on the interstate, and then they come back through and they just pull up and Bluetooth them. They'll just download all the numbers, and when you put in your zip code or your PIN code, it catches that. So then they just take their laptop in the car, take their credit card with their name on it, and re-encode your information on the back of it, and then go start. But the last one I got, they had 29,000 credit card numbers in their laptop.
Wow.
But they all got 120 months in federal prison, so it's 10 years for that because of the amount. But yeah, the biggest thing is our threats. If you make a threat, we're going to come talk to you, no matter how threat is. If you're a keyboard commando and you make a threat on the internet, we're going to come knock on your door. Every threat is a serious threat to us. We will find you. If it's reported to us. Yeah,
I was reading a story the other day about somebody who made a threat in Florida, like a vague threat online, and somebody reported it in, and they went and
there's been some
picked him up.
Yeah.
Are there like hotlines that you call to report, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, you can call it in. Anybody can report it. I mean, we've got an internet threat desk that monitors stuff like this. I mean, I had one that put a thing on Facebook, said, "Is it?" He said, is it against the law to start a GoFundMe page to take a hit out on Trump asking for a friend? Now, did he make a threat? No. But did he make a veiled threat? Did he say something? So, of course, we're going to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Right? And as soon as you go talk to him, he's like, he brings his mother with him. And I said, okay, so is this the friend you're doing this for? And now mom's mad. Right? So now mom's involved. So every threat's a serious threat.
Yep.
And we have to investigate it. I mean, the ones that's what you want us to do. I mean, there's no threat that's...
Right.
If somebody's going to make a threat, we need to know, are you serious? I mean, I've only, in 25 years Secret Service, and I just retired in October, but I only had 2 that I federally prosecuted for making threats, and they were serious. They were serious threats. But then, they made them. They made threats, and they intended to carry them out. So.
Yeah.
I've read online that a popular site for some of these characters is 4chan. Are you familiar with the site?
No.
It's like a bulletin board website where the messages are kind of ephemeral, they'll disappear. But I think there's a school shooter in Florida a couple years ago who posted that he was going to shoot up a school on 4chan. And within 4 minutes, law enforcement was notified and they went and got him, and he was ready to do the act.
Yeah.
So
There seems to be a lot of activity on this.
And that's where we need people that are smart and that are good with computer. I'm not that guy. I'm not the computer guy, right? So we need those guys that work for us, guys and gals, and we've got a whole career track for that. We've got a forensic services division. You can, work for the Secret Service, be an agent, and you can do when we do a search warrant, you can do the forensic examination on those computers, and you can do the internet threat stuff like that. I mean, it's all the cyber stuff is huge.
Yeah.
So. We're looking for those types of people. We don't need just knuckle draggers like me. So we need some smart people.
You mentioned prosecuting. What was your relationship like working with the U.S. Attorney's Office? And if you can talk about that dynamic between a federal agent and a prosecutor. And what was it like testifying in federal court for the first time? I'm sure they trained you in that.
Yeah. So there are Secret Service agents that go through 25 years that may have 1 or 2 federal arrests. I was fortunate. I had over 250 probably. I really like that end of it. And to do that, you have to have good U.S. attorneys. And the Southwest Virginia is extremely fortunate to have the U.S. attorneys that we have here. Zach Lee, who was assistant here, supervisory assistant. I think he may even be acting. I don't know where he's at now, but Zach Lee's great. Randy Ramsire, Rick Montcastle, those guys. Randy Ramsire, I think they did that Dope Sick with Randy.
Yes, yeah, right.
Randy Ramsire, I have worked in Northern District of Indiana, Southern District of Illinois, Maryland, D.C., Virginia, Tennessee. Randy Ramsire is the best U.S. attorney that I've ever worked with. He has a moral compass. He says, listen, I've never regretted going to trial. I've regretted not going to trial. He's not afraid of trial. He will. I mean, we did a roundup of 72 people federally on one case with Randy. Randy is unbelievable. But you got to have your stuff together. I mean, if you're going to prosecute a case, when you present a case to the U.S. attorney, if you're scattered, stuff not together, you need to come with the case. And of course, my current position now. I just retired, but I'm going back at FLETC. We'll try to teach the new agents that when you present this case, make it easy for them. Because a lot of cases we bring are financial crimes cases. Who wants 3 boxes of banker boxes full of stuff? So get it digital. Do binders and present to the U.S. attorney. But the U.S. attorneys are great. I mean, they don't get paid enough for what they do. I mean, they can obviously be making a lot more money in the private sector. So, I mean, they are, we can't do anything without them, right? I can just do my job and then present it. And when you present to somebody like Randy or Zach, those people are just great.
I was fortunate enough to see some officers testify in circuit court for the first time. I got to sit on the police academy on their final examinations through New River. They had to come into the Carroll County Circuit Court, and they had kind of like a mock trial. Was there anything like that with your training?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we go through that. We have our own mock courtrooms that we do our trial. I had 5 trials in 25 years. I mean, The 72 people we rounded up, I had, I think, 2 in that one. The one in Northern Virginia, I went to trial. I was on the stand for most of a week, the better part of a week, with 4 different defendants, 4 different attorneys questioned me. But the best advice that I give, as what's always served me well, is in everything you do, just be honest. If you don't know, I don't know. So if you ask me a question, I don't know the answer. I don't know. I can look at my notes. I can get my notes. Don't guess. Don't be an adversary to the prosecution or the defense. I mean, you answer the question. If they ask you a question, you answer that. One thing is, a lot of the defense attorneys will just get up there and just start talking and make statements, and then look at you and expect you to start talking. You wait for them to ask you a question. Like, do you know what that is?
Glasses.
What?
Glasses.
No, the answer is yes.
Oh, okay.
So you gave me more than I asked for.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just ask the question that they ask you.
Okay.
You answer the question that's asked. And that's the best advice I give, is just, because they'll try to trip you up. That's their job, right?
Yeah.
So you listen, answer the question honestly. If you don't know, you don't know. You don't want to perjure yourself, then you're done. You lie on the stand, you're finished. So nobody should, ever lie on the stand. But like I say, if you're guessing something, don't guess. But yeah, it's you think a minute and they ask you a question, take a second and think, and then answer the question.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic there. You've got to be nervous. Do you remember the first time that you did it?
Oh yeah, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they're coming at you. They're putting a microscope on everything that you've done, your investigation, and no investigation is perfect. You've made mistakes, right? I mean, like the counterfeiter was telling you in Knoxville, I made mistakes in that case, but he didn't change the back plate on all of his bills. I never told him that, but he had ripped out some paper and had a local charge of mutilating at Walmart. He went to Walmart and pulled Bible paper out because he was short on paper. It's hard to find that kind of paper. Yeah. Well, if I had looked at that, I saw he had charges, but I didn't see what those charges were. One of them was mutilating Bibles in a Walmart, right? I mean, destroying property. But because I was just trying to figure out what he was making the paper out of. So every case, you're going to make mistakes. You just learn with each one and try to get better.
On that note, what case are you most proud of? And what case, if you could go back and do things differently, you would change?
The case I'm most proud of? I don't know. I think the Knopfinger case here in Galax is. I mean, that case, well, not me. It was the, that guy's evil.
Yeah.
I mean, you do that to children, and the vulnerable people in our society. The elderly, the children, somebody that has mental disabilities, and he was preying on all those. He was using, low income people, preying on them with the drugs, and I don't know if you know the case or not, but he was watching the kids for these girls that he was seeing while they were gone. Then he was videotaping himself. So the state case, not that it wasn't a solid case, because it had a X chromosome, I think they found, but it was going to be a tough case. Yeah. But we were able to get ahead of that, and the judge gave him 60 years. So having somebody sentenced to 60 years in a federal case, at 30, I think he's 36 years old, you do 85% of your time in the federal system. So you get 60 years, you're going to do 85% of that. Yeah. That's a life sentence for him, right? So he's not getting out. So I really hated the child porn cases, and I can remember them all, and they're tough. But to get somebody that's done that, and hold them accountable and put them away, because they're going to do it again. Yeah. So all the cases I've had, that one was probably one that probably had the biggest impact that you don't forget, because and other cases, I mean, helped on a couple other murder cases that made a lot of difference. But that one in particular, not that I did a whole lot, but helped with the locals, and then we identified some people, and then we got it prosecuted. So that case was one that, some others that meant a lot were also, money's money. Yeah. Counterfeit. Yeah. I mean, you get people stealing stuff, and that's one thing. Yeah. But when you can actually put somebody, a predator, away in the federal system as a Secret Service agent, that's pretty good. So those cases probably, even though they were the toughest, probably proud that we got those done. And those were good. And what'd you say the other question was?
Which one that you would
do differently
this time? And I thought the FBI handled most of the I thought the Secret Service just did purely financial stuff. I didn't know that. They did it like murder and.
We can do any federal case.
Is that true for all the different agencies?
No, okay. No. We kind of got 3056 gives us some federal statute that gives us a little bit more leeway, and as long as you're willing to do it. And our headquarters, we have a crimes against children unit that missing and exploited children that we help with. Use our polygraphers. They send our polygraph examiners out to do. Those guys are really making a difference too in a lot of these cases. Our polygraphers are some of the best in the world. So we have emphasis on that. We really do that. We even do school shooting. We do active shooter stuff. We've got intact. We've got a whole branch and headquarters that works that. Yeah, Secret Service does more than just protect the president, right? We protect our nation's financial system and our protectees, and then we work with state and local to help, bridge that gap, anything that they need. And we're short on people, like I say, we need people. But the case that I wish probably it would have to be earlier cases, the interviews. I missed a lot on some cases because as a young agent, I wasn't as good an interviewer. Mm-hmm. Like you guys are interviewing people here and you're doing stuff, but like if you get me and you arrest me and I confess to you and tell you everything I've done, well, that's great. But the goal should be to get everybody that I'm working with, and instead of just me, get the whole group, right? And so a lot of focus as a young agent, you're trying to get that confession. You're really working. I want that confession from you. I don't want to leave here till you give me a confession, right? You're working for that. You shouldn't be working for that. You should be working for information, right? You should be working for how much I can talk to you. Because when you interview somebody, if they like you, they'll talk to you. If they don't like you, they're not going to talk to you. Yeah. If you come in here and you're hateful to me, this is going to last 10 minutes, right? We're going to be done. Yeah. But if I come here and I talk to you, and that's what we teach at FLETC. We teach that. I'm in behavioral science. We teach interviewing. So I probably missed a lot in some of my early cases that I could have done much better later in my career because of the interviews. Yeah, because I could have, I understand that you ask open-ended questions. Well, tell me about that. Well, explain that. Well, describe that to me. Open-ended questions where people will talk, right? And that, reciprocity. Come in, I'm going to give you something if it's water or whatever. If you're cuffed, I can take the cuffs off of you and just talk to me. All right. If I'm giving you something, now you got to give me something. When you get a Christmas card from somebody, or you get an invite to a party, and maybe you don't like that person, but now you have a get together or a party, you feel like you have to invite them, right? That reciprocity, right? You feel like you have to do something. So it works with that in an interview when you're talking to somebody. You help me, I help you, and I tell them, hey, don't lie to me. I'd rather you just lawyer up than tell me a lie. Just and a lot of criminals, they think they're smarter than you, so they want to see what you know. Like, I want to talk to you to see how much you know about the case, and they want to see your evidence and stuff like that. So just learning how to do that, I'm trying to pass that on. Now, the things that I've learned that I wish somebody had told me early in my career.
What's it like sitting down with someone who's done something terrible, like molested a child, and talking to them? That's got to be a very hard thing to do.
It is. That's everybody's got their implicit and explicit bias, right? Yeah. You got biases that and then you've got them that's under the surface that you don't really realize that you have. So when you learn those, all right, now I know, even though I cannot stand this child molester, the best thing I can do is go in there and he's like my best friend, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to treat him like a human to human, right? Because what if my goal at the end of the day is to put him away, right? Him or her away. I'm not going to do that if I go in there and I'm angry or I'm showing like, you're the trash that you are. I'm not going to go in there and belittle you. Treat them like a human, even though it's tough. So you got to recognize those are things that you have to recognize in yourself. Maybe you're not the best person to go in there if to do an interview. Maybe you should be the second in this interview if you have some personal feelings towards something they've done, right?
Yeah.
So recognizing that is one key to a good interview.
Yeah. Are there any good cop, bad cop dynamics like we see on TV, or is that kind of just a Hollywood myth?
Well, there's agents that there's a read technique of interviewing, which is very confrontational, and we still have some older agents out there and some people who went to the Reed School of interviewing, and that's coming in there and slapping the thing down there. So we teach a SUE method, strategic use of evidence, and you probably lied to your parents or done something along the way, and you've had the SUE interview done to you, and you really don't realize it. So if you went somewhere and you done something and your parents find out about it, and you come in and say, well, how was school today? Tell me about school.
Yeah.
All right. And you tell them to say, well, where all did you go today? All right. Well, did you go to Walmart today? Or wherever you went that you weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
They're building that cognitive load in your mind, trying to get you to admit it without confronting you, right? Well, so when you're talking to somebody, you're building that cognitive load, right?
Yeah.
You got a choice to either lie to me or tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm giving you that choice because I know the answer, but I'm going to see what you're going to do. Are you going to tell me or not? It's just like your parents, but it works in the criminal side too, right?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So is this person going to be honest with me when I start just putting a little bit of that cognitive load on there? Or are they a liar? Are they going to just lie the whole time? Some people are never going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So some of our agents or some law enforcement, they don't like that. And they say, hey, I know you were doing it because I tend to let them, okay, tell me more. Tell me more about that. Tell me about that. Yeah. Let them, because if they talk long enough, what are they going to do?
Slip up.
They're going to say, yeah. So if they're talking, you're winning. And that's what the goal should be.
How do you deal with someone who just sits there and doesn't say a word?
There's some people you're just not going to. If they lawyer up, then you say, bring your attorney in and we'll talk with your attorney and you can help yourself. Because look, what I tell people is, look, you've already done this. This is something you've already done. I'm going to write my report and I'm going to take it to the U.S. attorney. Now, what I'd like to do is get your side of it in your words. You can write it down. Maybe you did it because people do it because they get in financial bind, they get in a crisis. So there's a reason. I want you to explain your reason. You can put it on paper. The U.S. attorney is going to see how that's the human side of it. It's already happened. I'm going to file a report. Let's hear your side of it and get them to write it out. So when you do that, like aggravated identity theft, if you stole Luke's identity and you signed Luke's name in that interview, I'm going to say, I know you've done this. Nobody's hurt. We can fix this. Did you sign Luke's name or yours? And you say, well, yeah. So when you put that down, there's mandatory minimums. That's aggravated identity theft. So getting people to just talk to you, it goes back to that. But building that cognitive load, getting them to talk to you, all of it plays into an interview. And you have to do a lot of those. And you're going to fail. And you're not going to do so good. And you're going to say, man, I can do better until you're a good interviewer.
Earlier you mentioned September 11th. You were in Chicago then, correct? As a federal agent and as a Secret Service agent, we hear what happened with Bush that day and all the stuff that happened with him. What was your story on September 11th? What was your role? Yeah.
I was on the treadmill running at the Chicago field office. Come in early to beat traffic because traffic's horrible. Yeah. The first one looks like an accident. The second one's not. So after that, we knew we were under attack. And in Chicago, I can remember O'Hare Airport's very busy. Yeah. Everything went quiet. But before that, down on the river, right there on Riverside, the local cameras and stuff were trained on what was then the Sears Tower, which I think it's the Hancock Tower, Hancock building now. It's the tallest building in Chicago.
Yeah.
But they were come out, news crews had their cameras up there waiting for something to hit that. And I can just remember thinking, man, well, what's this come to? You know, are we under attack? But in the aftermath of that, they needed agents in D.C., and that's how I left. We all did temporary details somewhere. You know, we either New York, D.C. We all got temped out to do stuff because we picked up all the Bush family at that point. Right? We picked up the brothers. We picked up everybody. We increased our details on families, soft targets. So it had an effect. We had some people that did a leave of absence that went back to the military agents.
There's a famous picture of Secret Service agent informing Bush. He was reading to a kindergarten class, I think, or maybe it was the chief of staff, but telling him that a plane had hit, and you can just see the look on his face. And it's like, sir, we're under attack. It's got to be a howling thing for the president.
Yeah, it was. And that's to say they beefed up all the offices, and, you know, after that. Yeah, it had an effect on office. Like I say, it changed Secret Service's trajectory. I mean, we were Treasury Department, and then after that we became part of the new Homeland Security, which
Coast Guard too.
Yeah.
So you were in Chicago doing investigations. When was your first protective duty, and can you talk about that aspect of it? What
I mean, a month out of school, I'm driving former President Clinton. I mean, I went through our driving school, so I was certified to drive the new limo. So PDT, protective detail training. So we were driving, you know, former presidents. I mean, he was the president a month ago. Now he's sitting in the back seat. Yeah. So, you know, I'm a month out of school. So you get assigned the United Nations, the UN in New York, every year. Every visiting head of state gets a Secret Service detail. So typically they're going to start you out on, you know, working shift for Micronesia, some small country. You're going to do advanced work. You start getting, and then you're going to do former details. You're going to get temporary. So an agent is on a travel rota for 30 days, and then off for maybe 60, and then back for 30. So those 30 days that because you're doing both in the field. You only do permanent protection in 25 years, 6 years, unless you get promoted and go back to a detail. So you're learning in the field. You're working these small details until you get to a permanent.
Yeah.
What's that like, meeting your first president? That's kind of interesting.
You know, the first time everybody looks a couple times, but then it just gets to be,
you
know, hey, I got a job here. This is
professionalism.
Yeah. Did you ever get to sit down and talk to him?
No, we don't. You know, if they ask you a question, you answer it. You know, but you don't. Our job's not to. You elect them, we protect them. That's it. You know, we're not.
Yeah. I've heard different stories from different presidents at the White House and building some friendships with some of their closer knit agents. I don't know how that works. Were you ever on a permanent protective detail like what you mentioned before? Like were you with that person all the time?
I was, yeah. So I did my protection was the counter assault team.
Okay.
The CAT team. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but that's the President's Assault.
Okay.
That's the SWAT team. So I did that for Bush. Okay. That's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is go through that training.
Yeah.
What made it so difficult?
There's some video out there if you pull it up. The training of it. I mean, it's real physically demanding. And a lot of mental. I mean, it's probably just as mental as it is physical, but just to give you an idea, they take 12 special agents that apply, and you're put through a 2-week tryout, and that 2-week tryout, 5 or 6 make it through, and then they put another 12 through, another 5 or 6, so you get a 12-man team to go through a 6-week school, and then the 6-week school, about 6 or 7 make it through that. And you know, the only reason I got through it was grew up here in the hills shooting, right? I mean, I like to shoot. I can shoot with those guys. Yeah. I mean, a lot of former military, a lot of Rangers, Delta, you know, SEALs, a lot of those guys who we can't function without, but they are, you know, head and shoulders, and we need those folks too. Like I say, the knuckle draggers, like, you know, hey, I like to shoot. Yeah. You know, find something you like to do in the Secret Service. There's plenty of things that if you want to, if you're into computers, whatever you're into, I like shooting. You just keep dumping ammo out. I'll shoot all day. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, just keep shooting. The more you shoot, the better you get. So a lot of martial, but it's the SWAT team for Bush, and that's what I did for my protection.
Yeah, the CAT team, when Trump had his incident in the summer in Butler, Pennsylvania, guys with long guns immediately came out. Was that the CAT team?
Yeah.
Because they were there quick. I don't know where they were at or what they were doing, but it seemed like immediately once it happened, those guys were there.
So the guys on the roof, the counter snipers, are uniform division, and then those two guys that got out, they're counter assault. Former protective, for former details, don't get a full man team, of course. Yeah. You know, the higher level you go, the more you get. So there's different elements. That was a two-man element that was there on that day. I don't know if y'all want to get into that day or not. So
sure.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Yeah. I don't know what you're allowed to talk about, what you're not.
Well, I got my opinions. And then,
for sure.
You know,
yeah.
It's whatever you want to do. Whatever
yeah. I mean, and so in 2016, I did advance for Trump. I did, I think, maybe 23 advances for Trump detail. And you're working more with less because it's a candidate.
Yeah.
And you rely heavily on state and local.
Yeah.
You rely heavily on, you probably know this, but HSI, Homeland Security, we use a lot of their agents. So they'll take 5 HSI and 1 Secret Service and make a 6-man jump team. I mean, so we're supplemented by folks who that's not their primary job, right? And so I'm working on kind of a book now about that stuff. So only thing I'll say is the guys that are in the Pittsburgh field office there are some of the best and brightest. I mean, I worked with them on the counter assault team. They're great. The breakdown, in my opinion, you can't second guess people, but when you set this up, I mean, I've had to work with less people. I mean, just say if you're a Democrat and you go to a Republican area and you ask for 25 officers, and they may give you 15.
Yeah.
Maybe because of budgets, and maybe they just don't have it. So we were doing more with less, but there's no excuse for that day. I mean, there's no excuse for it. I mean, it's a breakdown.
Yeah.
I mean, of the advanced team, it's a breakdown of the entire advanced team. But we're lucky, I guess. Or he was lucky, or God saved him. You can look at it any way you want to. I can look at it a lot of different ways, but it was a breakdown. It should never have happened, and hopefully it'll never happen again. But as a former candidate, I mean, how many attacks on former presidents had there been?
Right.
Yeah.
That's former presidents. That's not candidates. There has been some, but if something like that's happened, we've failed. So it was a failure.
I'm sure you study incidents like JFK and McKinley and all that stuff in school, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Failures.
Do you have any information on Kennedy's assassination?
No, nothing.
I know
It's not in my.
No, I know they're doing
Talking
different
about
stuff right now.
Declassifying some of that information.
I'm not Dan Bongino. I don't have an opinion on everything.
Yeah.
That's something I don't have an opinion on because I don't know anything. I wasn't around then, so.
Sure, yeah. That's a fascination I have.
Yeah.
Point of history, it's interesting.
Well, there's different stuff coming about that now, but that's a whole different.
Well, that's a lesson learned, just like Hinckley.
Sure.
Hinckley, we didn't have anybody in the press pool now. And after Hinckley, we've got agent that's assigned to the press pool. We've got they're credentialed now. But at that time, if you were press, you could get in the press pool.
Yeah.
You could get close.
When you look at former presidents, I think it's 10 years now that they get Secret Service protection.
Lifetime.
Yeah.
I thought after Bush, George W. Bush, I thought they went to
No, Clinton.
10 year
Clinton,
full time.
no, Clinton put it in the law that 10 years, but then Bush changed it back. We just had Jimmy Carter at 100 years old till he died. So they get it for life.
If you're impeached, you lose it too.
You get it for life. The spouse gets it for life. We had Lady Bird. We had Mrs. Reagan. until they die, they pass away. As long as they're not divorced, then they get it for life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess that makes sense.
Did you ever have to discharge a weapon on a protective detail?
No.
No.
I guess if you do, that's a
It's
bad day.
Bad day.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Reagan got shot?
That was-
Yeah, I was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, some of those folks are still around that, were involved in that. So,
I think he's actually been released from jail. Was it?
yeah, I don't want to talk about that, but yeah, he's released.
Yeah, he's doing different stuff now. We know that you went overseas with the president a lot, doing trips,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's stressful. Can you talk about what it's like to travel with the U.S. president overseas and just the amount of work it takes to secure areas and stuff? I guess especially since it's a foreign nation, too, it has to be harder. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
so
things to do.
the advance team, of course, they go over their 2 weeks. You send them out, at least they're on the ground 10 days ahead of that. And so that's a lot of work. You're going to work, you're not going to get paid for the amount of time you work for the Secret Service, and you're going to work 20 hours some days. 16 hours, 18 hours some days. You just get very little sleep, setting the protection up. So if you're doing advanced work, it's very stressful, as you've got to get cooperation with other countries. You've got to have agreements, that don't change day of. And then as an agent working, they don't put this in the brochure, but we fly military cargo. So they load us in the belly of the plane with the vehicles. So it's very hot when you start, and then very cold by the time you get where you're going. But yeah, so there's a lot of foreign travel. And I always volunteer for them. If I hadn't seen it, then people say, "Hey, Bosnia's horrible." Well, okay, I'll go see. Whatever. So it's.
How many countries did you travel to on your details?
No idea.
No idea.
That's a regret I have. I wish I had a journal to start with and just put every country, every city, the work protection.
I know this is probably a stupid question, but I'm sure you protected run details for presidents that you didn't vote for. What's that like? Do you have any thoughts?
Like I said earlier, you elect them, we protect them.
Right.
So we have no. It's you don't look at it that way. You look at it as the office.
Yeah.
You don't care about the person's politics. You can't let somebody hurt our president.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter who that is. So we don't look at it that way. Even a foreign leader that comes here that we protect. I had Ahmadinejad from Iran. I protected him at the UN.
Wow.
But even though he was, what he is, you can't hurt him while he's here.
Right.
This is our job to keep him safe. So even though you don't align with their politics, you keep it to yourself.
Was it Obama's administration where people shot at the White House? I want to say that was Obama.
Clinton.
Clinton? Was it Clinton? Were you at all? No. As after, before you? Yeah.
And I know, especially on foreign trips, the president can't ride in anybody else's car. Is that correct?
The president can't ride in anybody else's car.
And
Yeah, we
nation's
take our
vehicles.
own. We take our own.
So you all ship those.
We ship them. That's why we fly with those cars.
Wow.
That's we fly with them.
Yeah.
I just went to Berlin back in September with Biden, and we take the car.
Yeah. There's a documentary about, I think, Trump's trip. I think he went to Malaysia. And it's about how everything kind of switches over there. They monitor the internet in Malaysia and threats. And there were threats on the Malaysian social media apps that the Secret Service was monitoring and going after people. So I was just shocked at how much legwork there was to getting everything set up and running dogs. And
Oh yeah, we take our canine military. We can't do it without our military. We take our military with us wherever we go.
yeah.
But yeah, been to a lot of countries. Of course, I don't know if you know, I went to North Korea
Wow.
with Trump. So
Yeah, what's that like? Because
that
not,
was my
not
last
many
foreign trip
citizens.
with Trump.
I didn't know
I got over into I stepped over in North Korea when Trump went over there. Yeah.
Not many U.S. citizens have
I
been to
didn't
North
know,
Korea.
I knew he went. I
Yeah,
didn't know
no,
you
I
were
was on that
there.
trip, and I got to work that.
Huh. So you fly into South Korea and then travel over the border?
Well, we were working the demilitarized zone there, and then
I see.
DMZ, and then he invited Trump over, and Trump went over for just a brief time, but
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, but
He was the first U.S. president to do.
Yeah, but I was there for that, so
That's,
that was my last one with him.
Yeah, I remember that when that happened. I didn't know you were involved with that. That was interesting. And you're doing some more foreign trips recently too, do with your job now, correct?
Yeah, so well, I'm in between. I am right now retired, but I've accepted a position back with the Secret Service as a law enforcement specialist instructor. So I'm going back to FLETC, to Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, to just be an instructor. But there, I'm assigned to the Behavioral Science Division, BSD, and that's all the science and interview and interrogation, and we teach that. We push that out to state and locals, and I went to Bangkok, Thailand, to teach the Royal Thai Police and others over there how we do things, and we do that foreign trips for FLETC. That's the ILEA's International Law Enforcement academies around the world that we train. So yeah, that's some foreign travel still ahead of me for that when I get back, but nothing. We kind of volunteer for that. It's not a force.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to talk about that some more. So you eventually worked at the Roanoke field office, correct?
Yeah, when I left D.C., I went to Roanoke. Yeah.
Okay. Was that nice being close to home? Or?
It gets good and bad,
Yeah.
I mean, you're arresting people that's in your community that, you got to see at the grocery store a year later. So, I mean, before that, in a big city, you really don't see that type of people. But yeah, Roanoke, in a large office, you can specialize. You can just do protective intelligence. You can do, investigation. You can do protection. When you get to a small office, you got to do it all. So, and travel still.
Yeah.
So Roanoke, and then I went to Knoxville, Tennessee, and then from Knoxville to FLETC, and I spent the last 4 years at FLETC.
Now that you're in Glencoe, what was that transition like to being a teacher?
Yeah. So that's I got to the point where I never wanted to be that officer or that agent who is negative, burnout, just talks. I hate this job. I don't want to do this. This is horrible. So in Knoxville, I got to the point where I was starting to get burnt out on the investigations of it's like, all right, I like the interviews, but I get tired of typing an affidavit on a car plane going somewhere. I'm getting too old to be writing search warrants when I'm waiting, to go to another trip or on a trip, taking your computer with you, typing out, a criminal complaint or an affidavit or a search warrant, whatever you're doing. And I'm like, this is burning the candles at both ends.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to be that person who's complaining about stuff. And so I didn't. And I looked at the only way I can contribute and keep, feel like I can make a difference in the services, to go and teach the next generation of agents what I've learned, what I wish somebody had taught me, right? So I put in for FLETC, and they took me. I mean, it's something you can't, you just don't say how I want to go.
Right.
And so since I had a lot of arrests, had a lot of cases, they put me in. They say, okay, your investigations were your strength. Where do you want to go? Now, I did teach, since I did counter assault, I spent a year teaching basic tactics, and active shooter. I spent a year doing that, but now I'm going back to teach the behavioral science, because I like that. I mean, I like the cognitive. I like teaching the
psychology.
Because we teach not only to suspects, victims, and witnesses. We do cognitive interviews. I don't know if you know what a cognitive interview is. You understand what if you're a witness and I have you tell me a story, I have you walk me through it, tell me the whole thing. Then I'll say, okay, now I want you to start at the end and tell this in reverse. Go backwards. And what does that do for you?
I think
so. Say your ABCs.
Z, Y, X.
No, if I tell you to say them regular ABCs.
Oh, okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O.
Now if I say, all right, now stop, say them backwards. What do you have to do it?
Say it forward and then go backwards.
All right, but are you looking at the letters? Are you thinking the letters?
Yeah.
Now you're slowing down, right?
Yeah.
So if I have you tell me a story, something you saw, and you tell it, I say, all right, now go in reverse, take your time, and when you do that, you're going to slow down.
Yeah.
You're going to get more detail, and I'm going to get more out of that interview. So we teach that's victims and witnesses.
Wow. That's interesting.
I've seen that done.
I've seen that as like a field sobriety test, but I've never
I
seen
think
it.
one guy memorized it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, do you look at body cues too?
So-
of a suspect? I know the FBI. I've seen some interviews with them. Behavioral specialists, how they can tell a person's body language or pick it. Is that not real or?
Yeah. No, we don't teach that any of that. One of something is nothing.
Yeah.
If you're nervous and you're sweating, maybe you're nervous and sweating because I'm a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're doing it. If I'm in an inner city and you're a person of color, maybe you're just nervous to talk to the police.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're guilty? No. So one of something is nothing. So that has nothing to do with it. We don't look at that, right? We mirror and mimic people, like you're sitting like I'm sitting right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
So right. So now you're mirroring me, and if I can get when you start talking, you lean in.
Yeah.
And I lean in. Now we're mirroring each other. Now you're still a little more comfortable. More body language like that. How you're. If you're sitting there with your hands closed, like of course you're closed off, right? You're just not wanting to talk. So we start talking. But one of something is nothing. If you look up or look down, we don't teach that. That's not something that's verifiable. There's no one thing that says somebody's lying, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a good indicator because maybe that's just the way that person is.
I see some stuff with nostrils flaring or people tapping their fingers or stuff like that.
I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. The polygraphs, I've read some things online about people doubt their effectiveness, but do you think they work and they're useful?
Their effectiveness is I'm putting you in a polygraph, and now you know that these questions matter,
Yeah.
right? And I'm asking you these questions and getting a reaction from you, and that's what they're getting is a reaction, right? So I'm not a polygrapher, so I'm can't speak to the physics of it. You sweat, your palms might sweat a little bit, yeah. But why are they sweating? Are they sweating just because you're in this environment? Are they sweating because you've got some things that, you've done? Maybe I'm interviewing you about a counterfeit case, but you killed somebody, right? Do you think I'm going to ask you about that? So we try to get information from people by talking to them, building rapport, and by doing that, and the more we talk, the more credible information, like I say, not focusing on that confession, focusing on what you're saying. And the physical stuff, I mean, yeah, you can look at some of it, but there's no one thing. One of something is nothing.
Yeah. As you look back over your time with the Secret Service and what we've talked about, is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't asked before we?
What do you mean?
You mentioned you writing a book.
Any other points?
Well, I wish I'd have started writing stuff down earlier, and not a book. I would never put in a book anything about protectee or anything like that. It's just the people that the stress. All right, so when you come off of this job, I mean, what helped me was to go to FLETC. When you're amped up all the time and you're going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, because you work weekends, you don't even know what the days are. When you're in D.C. working, Friday is Monday is Saturday. They're going to give you. You're just. If you do that for 20 years, when you're finished, you're just done. They just let you go. Most of our people die 5 years, a couple of years after they retire, because you're at such a high level that you just drop off to nothing. So what I'm fortunate with is FLETC has let me kind of come down a little bit. Come down a little bit. It took about 6 months before I wasn't just expecting to get an assignment at 5 o'clock on Friday for the weekend. That's hard on your family. It's hard on your kids. It's hard on marriages. That's really tough, the toll. And they use you up and you're done. And then on to the next, right? So, yeah, I mean, the stress part of it and the cases, like you can't unsee child pornography stuff. You have to view it to speak to a grand jury on what you saw. So you can prosecute it. You can't unsee that, right? So the toll it takes on you after 25 years is just, I mean, look, it's all silver in my hair, right? So yeah, the book, I kind of just writing, maybe nobody will ever see it, but just the things of the service, the thing, not anything negative, because the people, people ask me about, well, the day in Butler, the girl couldn't get her gun in her holster. Well, that was a stressful situation. She's under stress. It looked like she had her vest on. The new holsters that we went to, we've never had lights on our guns before. All these things matter, right? So I'd never second guess this person that can't find her holster just because it looked bad, right? You don't know what you're going to do. My brother was in a shooting here as a school resource officer during the summer, and he's as calm. He is the opposite of me. He's as calm and collective, and just his partner got shot. He grabs his partner, shoots, changes magazines, pulls his partner back. Real calm. Kevin's really calm and even kill, and a really good shot, better shot than I am. A pistol and a rifle, right? He can outshoot me. I don't know. I'd probably been screaming at the guy, shooting back at him, dragging my partner. We all act differently. You don't know until you're put under that stress. So nobody can say what they would do until they're in that situation.
Is your book meant to be a resource for the next generation of agents?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the lifestyle management with us. I mean, when you work 23 days of midnights, and you go back to the field. I mean, your body's just messed up.
Yeah.
And we need to learn that earlier. There's no training for that.
Do you think there should be an institutional change to make agents more aware of that?
I think we should step down a little bit before they retire. I think your last year of the job, you should probably go into an office, or you're kind of stepping down off this amped up so much. You're just easing into your next phase of your life and your career, because just to cut it off is,
it's tough. It's
tough.
Shock to the system.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's a tough job for that. I mean, all tough. I'm not complaining, whining. It's afforded me a great living. I've seen things I'd never seen before. I mean, I've been to Moscow, the Red Square. I've seen Linen Under Glass.
Yeah.
I've been to Australia, Rome, Italy. You name it. Reykjavik, Iceland, one of my favorite places. Lots of places. I'm not complaining about it. It's great. But there's ways that you can manage it that doesn't affect your family as much, right? I mean, you spent Christmases working. You're going to miss holidays. You're going to miss birthdays. September, you can forget seeing your family in September because you're going to be in New York for the UN. But I would basically, they're going to give you a hotel room. Bring your family with you. Let them see New York while you're working during the day, and then spend some time with them. A lot of people don't do that. Hey, I'm working. I got to go. I mean, if you're in Hawaii with the Obamas for 18 days over Christmas, and the wife's at home with 2 kids screaming, and you get off 8 hours, and now you're in Waikiki or wherever, laying by the pool, and you call home and you hear the kids screaming, you tell the wife, hey, I'm out here. How's that marriage going to go, right? Not very well. Bring them with you. Take them with you. Spend the money you get per diem. I think we need more training on how to lifestyle management with our families.
Definitely.
You've done some dirt racing, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
The Watsons and cars were always really closely connected. How did you get into racing?
Actually, I looked at one yesterday to try to race a little bit again, but just, you're right. All the uncles going to all the races. I mean, we had growing up. I mean, your grandpa Jerry. I mean, I went races with him. I mean, your uncle Jeff. I mean, he took him to every NASCAR race. Bill Elliott was his fan. I mean, that we went just growing up. But those were the heroes, I mean, all the NASCAR drivers. I mean, you love to hate Dale Earnhardt, but you know how great he is, right? So racing was great. I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to try, but it's a very expensive hobby. So when I got back here in Roanoke, then I bought a dirt track car and started racing a little while. But become friends with some dirt track guys, and they helped me out a lot. But never was very good. Just stay on the lead lap. But you've got to have a lot of skill with that, and it helps to start at a young age. But it was fun. I got my dad into it. Yeah. He raced a little bit.
Is that out in Elk Creek, the dirt track?
No, it's With Raceway in Withville, Yeah, and I did some, Elk Creek when I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've heard there was one out there.
Yeah, but that's fun. Just all kind. I mean, we've still got an old dirt car or two now. Still, just it's fun, stress reliever.
Yeah. Yeah, as we're wrapping up, we always have a few questions we ask. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, this question's more applicable to our listeners who maybe are considering a career in law enforcement. What advice would you give someone, mine and Luke's age, 17, 18, maybe not eligible to be a law enforcement officer yet, but they know they want to do that as a career, or at least try it out?
Yeah, I mean, find something you like to do. Like I say, if you like computers, and that's the, if you like interviewing, if you like investigations, if you like protection, if you think that's something, find something you like to do. To get there, I mean, we're not hiring angels, right? But we're not hiring people who use drugs, steal. I mean, of course, the polygraph, we're going to do a background. We're going to talk to your high school teachers. I mean, we're going to go back and do an extensive top secret clearance. So if you're looking for doing something like that, don't smoke marijuana. This marijuana stuff, people think, that's not, that fails more of our people with our polygraph than anything is the marijuana. We don't care that you smoked it, but you got to be honest with us when you did, how many times you did it. And you can't have used any type of marijuana within 2 years of applying for us. You got to quit, right? So anybody that's interested in that is treat people like you want to be treated. If it's not yours, don't take it, and don't break the law. That's just, that's just it. But there is something for you if it's something you like to do. I mean, we've got linguists. I mean, if you want to live in Italy, I mean, we can put you in our Rome office. I mean, there is places for you. I mean, profilers. There's everything. Our uniform division, counter sniper. I wish I'd have known about that. I mean, all those guys do is shoot. That's their job. I mean, that's it, which is great. I mean, I love it. But canine. If you love dogs. I mean, our canine officers are unbelievable. So there's something for you if and you can find it. And I enjoy the interviews and interrogation, and I like the shooting. So it kind of got best of both worlds there with me. But as far as just don't be afraid to try. That's the thing. Don't be afraid to try. Who cares if you fail? Like, you apply. I mean, I applied to every agency. I tried, but you just keep going.
And my next question, it's on the same basis as his, but it's more broad. What's your advice to young people just making their way in the world? Not specifically law enforcement, just in general.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm the best one to say that. I mean, because I'm a little harder on my kids. I mean, if you're on time, you're late. Like, be early. Like, I was coming here 15 minutes early. I mean, show up. Most everything in life is showing up with all your equipment, with all your gear, on time, and look like you know what you're doing, right? Even if you don't, you'll figure it out. Right? If you show up and look like you got your shirt out of the glove box, you look like a mess when I see you. I mean, the first impression, you can't redo the first impression, right? So if you're going to make an impression on somebody, that first impression is important. It's hard to get over that, right, with anybody. So I'd say that first impression, show up, look the part. I mean, dress for the part, the job you want, right? Not the job you have. So that's I mean, just the rules of life. If it's not yours, don't take it. And treat people like you want to be treated. Doesn't matter what they are, who they are. Treat them like you would want to be treated, right?
And I'm going to deviate a little bit from my typical question. This one, I think is pretty appropriate for you. What does it mean to you to be an American?
Well, it's everything. I mean, the pride in America it means everything to me. But on a national scale, doesn't matter who our president is, who our leaders are, we want them to succeed. We want them to look good. We want America to look good, right? So, I mean, do we have everything figured out? No. And traveling to other countries, you see a lot of good ideas in other countries that, man, we could use that here. But still, this is the greatest place ever. I mean, there's nothing like, even this area, Southwest Virginia is wonderful, great. I mean, I'm in Georgia and it's hot. Chicago's too cold. So this is great. But that means everything.
Luke's got our last question.
And the last question, we ask everyone we interview this, and that's, what is the meaning of life to you personally?
The meaning of life?
To you.
Well, I don't know. You probably have to edit this or cut this one out. I don't know. The meaning of life for me is on a daily basis is to treat people how I want to be treated, and that's it really. I mean, I that's it. Meaning of life for me is we're here for a short time, right? Learn as much as you can learn. I mean, everything is learning. If you're not trying, you're dying. So for me, every day I'm trying to learn something different. Even at 54 years old, I'm still trying to learn something different. So for me, getting up every day, trying to do something different. I mean, if it's restoring a car, even if you can't do it, I just rhino line spray the Bronco I'm working on. I've never painted a car like it before, but all right, I'm gonna mess it up. I'm just keep trying, keep doing stuff that makes you happy, right? I mean, faith is big, right? I mean, if you believe in God, I mean, if that's your center, then that's going to help you really guide you in your life.
Greg, it's been an honor to speak with you today. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me, guys.
I appreciate it.